Hey guys, hope you guys are doing well. This is your boy Megaman again, back with another episode of Megaman Legends. And today I'm feeling pretty empowered, feeling pretty good about myself. Thanks to my next guest that's on the comms here. Longtime friend. Met him during the Super Street Fighter 4 days at the place that gave me my start, actually. So everybody, welcome my boy Jonathan Empowerment Lane. John, what's going on, man?
What's going on, Mega Man? I like that play of words you did, and they're feeling empowered. I'm glad my presence helps you feel that way.
Well, it makes me feel that way, and it makes me feel some other way, but sometimes, that is how it is. I'm glad I got you on this podcast, man. I feel like people should totally know who you are, even though you do have a platform technically, and majority of them do know who you are. But I feel, a good interview can tell them pretty much your start in terms of, what made you into what you are today. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you. Thank you.
Nah, no problem. So, tell me something. Tell me about yourself. I mean, let's start with the whole journey into gaming. Like, what got you into it in the first place?
Do you mean gaming as a whole or fighting games in particular?
Well, do both.
Do both. Okay, so my gaming origin story started way back in the days of the Game Boy. Now, my oldest sister was gifted a Game Boy. I believe it was either for her birthday or for Christmas, and my mother had got her Super Mario Land. No, not Super Mario Land. It was Super Nintendo. Mm-hmm. That's what it was. My mother had got Nintendo, and she had got us Super Mario, the Mario Brothers. I'm sorry, the very first one. Nice. And what other game was that? I forget. That was a long time ago. But it was other games along with it too. And she bought it for the house, and I was hooked since then in terms of gaming in general. As you'll recall, Super Mario was not necessarily easy game to play, because that game required timing, because you had to jump your times and you can run and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. But I think my very first game that I had that was mine was the Game Boy. That's the part I wanted to segue to, was the Game Boy, because I asked my mother to give me the Game Boy, and she got it to me, and that's when I got Super Mario Land for a Game Boy. That's what it was on the thing. And since then, I've been a gamer since. So if you're talking about 88 is my sister's birthday. I would say about 89. That's when I got started. Because at that time I was 3. Yeah, I was 3 then. So, and then from there, Genesis came out. So when Genesis came out, I was like, saw the commercial for Sonic and Genesis. I was like, Mom, let's do that. And her price point was good grades, so I had to make sure that I had good grades. That was my currency for anything, was good grades.
Yeah, that's the story of everyone, of every young boy's life during that time. Young boy and girl's life in terms of getting stuff. Like, you show them good grades, you get the world. You don't show them good grades, you ain't getting shit. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
And the same thing applies to my kids now, because my daughter, she wants a PC. I was like, I need you to do well in school and graduate, and she did. So now I got to come through with a PC.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So now getting back to my origin story. So yeah, I started off with the Genesis. That was like my first one that I asked in particular, because my mother just bought the Nintendo for the house. So when I got Genesis, I got Sonic, Quackshot, and Street Rage I rented from Blockbuster. That I remember. But I remember owning. I owned Sonic, Quackshot, and Toe Jam and Earl. Those were my first 3 games that I had for Genesis. And then comes Super Nintendo. Now, when Super Nintendo comes out, of course, I think it was paired off with Super Mario World. But I ended up getting Street Fighter 2, which brings me to where the origin story of me playing fighting games started. When I got Street Fighter 2, I liked the game. I liked the characters. I was intrigued by how you can do the inputs between like the Hadouken, the Dragon Punch, and the charging moves. Now, it took me a long time. Execution was garbage. All those years ago. I remember being frustrated on not being able to perform the moves on the whim.
Right.
So I was trying to just leverage off the normals and stuff. And back then there was no training mode. So you would just have to fight the computer and just mash your way to victory. But I do recall starting the arcade mode and going through, of course, the world map, and eventually you get to Bison.
Right.
I remember being so annoyed at Vega because, unbeknownst to me, the game was programmed that if Vega is on the gate, I'm sorry, if Vega is on the cage and he jumps, it's an automatic grab. And I remember trying so many times to like punish him using jump attacks because I couldn't DP back then, and I would always eat that command grab, the air command grab. But I eventually realized that you can crouching medium punch him, so I started doing that. So once I got past Vega, then I had to do Sagat and then Bison. So I remember me beating the game multiple times, and that was fun times. Now I think the first person I recall me playing against, because I don't remember me playing against my sisters. My sisters wasn't interested. I think it was my cousin. My cousin was like the other person that I knew that I fought against, because when I remember going to his house, he ended up having it too. So I would fight my cousin, and that's when I got my first feel of like competition against another human.
Right.
And then I remember being so frustrated because I would lose, because at that time he was better than me, because he understood the mechanics of the game better than I didn't. And he would beat me, and what I would used to do just to troll him, I would literally press start in the middle of the match just to throw off his time in. I would do that.
You was one of those.
I was one of those back in days.
That is funny as hell, bro.
When he was beating me and I used to get frustrated, I knew pressing pause to throw off his timing, and I would do that on purpose. But outside of that, I mostly played those old games by myself, because my friends, it wasn't until I moved to Queens, actually. When I moved to Queens, well, first I'm originally from Mount Vernon, and then I moved to Queens in like 92, I believe. And yeah, I moved to Queens in 92. And then I had got Street Fighter when I was still in Mount Vernon, but I started playing it more heavily once I would move to Queens. So I ended up making a couple of friends near my house, and every so often they would come over and play. But when I mean come over, I mean like very seldomly. So it's like majority of the year I am playing these games by myself versus computer. And eventually I started getting better. I started recognizing how to do the moves, and I started increasing the difficulty of the CPU. So I remember me putting it on like 1 star in the beginning, because like, I don't know what I'm doing, so therefore I shouldn't be fighting for my life just every time I turn the game on.
Right. Yeah. Nah, I know that feeling. I know that feeling too well.
So once my execution got a little better, I increased the difficulty, and thus I understood the interesting dynamics of fighting games. As the opponent gets stronger, you have to be on your toes more. So then, I believe from Street Fighter 2, then it was Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting, then Street Fighter 3, then New Challengers was also, that was the Genesis version, correct? New Challengers?
Yeah.
Okay, then it's Champion Edition. It's amazing how history repeats itself. I'm just thinking about it now, how much those terms, you've heard those terms before. Like in Street Fighter 5, you had Arcade Edition, Champion Edition, and so on and so forth.
It is funny with those titles, because I feel like that's the trend with Capcom with that, especially with the modern game. It's funny, I wouldn't be surprised if they put 6 as maybe like down the line in the DLC, they're gonna call it like maybe like Champion Edition
Or Hyper 6.
or Hyper 6 or something like that, or Hyper Street Fighter 6 or something like that. Which, you know, we'll get to that later in the story though.
Yeah. So the terms of the games that I've owned Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 New Champions, Super Street Fighter. I did not. No one owned Turbo back then. Turbo was only Japan only, but only in the cabinets, right?
Which one? It was it Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting or something like that, or?
No, I had Hyper Fighter, but someone ST. There was no console ST at the time.
So here's the funny thing. There was no. You're right. There really wasn't no console ST except it was on the 3DO, which virtually not a lot of people had the 3DO. It was virtually impossible to get. ST didn't really get a port until I want to say the Dreamcast and then PlayStation 1.
Right. So I remember having so after Super Street Fighter 3, then PlayStation came out, the Sony PlayStation. So then Alpha had came out. So I had Alpha. I did play Alpha 2. Did I own Alpha 2? Yeah, I did own Alpha 2. I owned Alpha 3 for Dreamcast though. I had Alpha 3 for Dreamcast. Then I had Capcom vs SNK 1, Capcom vs SNK 2. I also had the original and the Japanese version.
Nice.
And then the Japanese version was peak. Then I also have Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Then I had Marvel 3, I had Street Fighter 4 and all its versions. 5. And then 6. I feel like I'm missing one when I go through the timeline. Oh, do you remember those those little Tiger handheld games?
Oh yeah,
I had Street Fighter for that one as well.
Yeah, that is so funny. I had one as well until until it broke. Yeah. But that was so good. And ironically, I had also Alpha Dreams on the Game Boy Advance.
Oh, right, because I know Street Fighter was on Game Boy. I didn't have Street Fighter for Game Boy.
Yeah.
No, for Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, it was funny because that handheld, it's funny you said about that handheld. That handheld came out in maybe like the early 90s, I believe.
Yeah, it was between 92 and 95.
Yeah, and that's because of the cartoon. You're
right.
It's because of the cartoon that got released. I remember, if I remember correctly, the only way that you were able to get that was by if you were to either go to McDonald's or some other place that you could just go buy it from. I think it was like
it was Kmart. It was Kmart. That's where I bought mine. I remember me going to Kmart, seeing it on display. It was like, Mom, can we do this? She was like, yeah, get it. And I got it, and I brought it home, and I was playing that. And I remember changing the batteries because it would die out so fast. I think it uses 2 AA or 3 AA batteries, something like that.
It was 3.
It was 3?
No, okay. it was a bulky handheld. That was the funny thing about it. I mean, it wasn't OD big, but it was like, okay, it was pretty sizable that it had to use 3 AA batteries in it though.
Right, and it was the long way as well.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe for our adult bodies it's small, but when we were so let's assume it was 95. How old was I then? I was 9 then. So, yeah. Good times. Yeah, and I even had the G.I. Joe figurines. I had Vega and Guile.
Oh man, that's awesome.
No, I had Vega, Guile, and Bison. That's who I had.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah,
that is sick. Have you watched the Street Fighter 2 cartoon that was released in America during those times?
I don't think I watched it because I think it was on cable. I didn't have cable back. Well, I had cable later on. Like while I was in the early teens, I had cable. But the Street Fighter, if memory serves me, I think Street Fighter was on the cable net. No, let me look that up real quick. Hold up.
No, it wasn't. So not Street Fighter V. We're talking about like the really, 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 really bad voice acted one.
Yeah,
And
you're talking about the one that they meme the crap out of now.
Yeah, that one. So ironically, that one was it wasn't on it wasn't on cable. It was actually on regular TV, and it came on. I want to assume it came on during Fox because that's when Fox had the crazy lineup back then. Because Fox had, if you remember, do you remember the live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie? And
No,
then
it was cable because it was on USA Network.
Oh, was it?
It was cable, yeah.
Well, ain't that something? I want to know what year it came to regular television. That's interesting. But yeah.
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 It might have ported it over to cable it might have ported over to regular TV, but I don't actually what year that was. And at that time, I think I wasn't aware that it was.
Yeah. Because I remember it was on Fox because it was showing between, you had that, you had the early Spider-Man, you had the live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle that was based off the movie, and apparently they had a sister. So
yeah,
that was wild as hell.
But, yeah, they was trying to do some things back in the day.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did, man. So you had pretty much majority of the Street Fighters and everything like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how would you describe your time? Not that question. I would say, how would you describe your time spent on Street Fighter? Like, how did you kind of discovered, right, from playing games at home with your cousins and everything like that to the FGC?
Okay, so like I said before, my majority of my time playing fighting games was by myself. It was just me and the CPU. We were best of buds for a long time. Occasionally, I would have somebody come over to my house, or I go to someone's house and play them, and then most likely I would beat everybody. I was known to be the person to beat in the fighting games and in my small little network of friends. I was that guy. And then when I started to when I realized there was a whole community of people playing fighting games, not just your block. Mm-hmm. That was back in like 2012. Our good friend, Mr. RGP, shout outs to him. Me and him was playing Super Street Fighter 4 for at least a year, because when the game came out, he had bought it and he knew that I played it because we and Reg went to college together. We met in college, and we were talking about games and stuff. And I remember mentioning about Street Fighter, but he was mostly playing sports games at the time. It's funny now, he don't play sports games now, but he was really big into sports back then, like Madden and 2K and all that stuff. So I told him, Street Fighter's coming out, I'm going to get it. You should get it if you want to try something new. He was like, all right, I'll try it out. So me and him was playing, and of course, I always had the upper hand over him because of all my experience playing fighting games up until that point. So we would play, he would get mad, and then but we always had back and forth sparring experience, and it's funny, it's still like that till this day. So when I play Reg, it's like it feels like what's the term? It feels like you have this like playing relationship where it goes back so many years ago. So it doesn't matter what version of the game you're playing, you know what to expect every single time.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what it is at least with Reg. But Reg and I linked up and went to one of his friend's house in Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. And his friend had both Street Fighter 4, Super Street Fighter 4, and Marvel 3 at the time. So we went there, we was playing, and one of his friends was Jason Schoon. Do you know who that is?
I've heard the name, but I can't put the face together, but you can describe him for me.
Well, Jason was a gamer as well. I don't know if he still games now, but he had told us that he started to notice that, myself and Reg was like really good, and he's like, hey, there is also a group of people who play Street Fighter as well in the city, because I think Jason went to 8-bit a couple times, so he knew of his existence before we did. But we just happened to meet him, and he was there, and he told us that that's where you can go to meet up with other people to play Street Fighter or like Marvel or just fighting games in general. He was like, all right, cool. So me and Reg linked up. I think it was the following Sunday because he said the dojo was open on Sunday, so we went that following Sunday because we met up on a weekend. Yeah, I remember we met up on a weekend on a Saturday to his friend's house, and the following weekend we went to dojo. No, I have to ask Reg. Maybe Reg knows. But either we met up, we went to his friend's house on Saturday. He told us that it's open on Sundays, and we went that next Sunday, or we did it the following. No, we had to do it the following week because I was working where I work at now, and I was off every other weekend. So in order for me to go, yeah, that's what it was. So we went to his friend's house one weekend, and 2 weeks after that, I went to dojo because I had to work. I was working evenings at the time, so I couldn't go during the evening. Anyway, so when we got to dojo up in St. Mark's Place at that location, it was that was the introduction because at that time we met Fire because Jason introduced us to everybody. So Jason met up with us. We went in there and we saw Fire. Who else was there? Ultimizer was there. Some other people. I think Patrick was there.
Oh yeah, Defeat Lee. Huh.
Defeat Lee. I think he was there, if memory serves me right, and a few others. I think was Condor there. I think Condor was there too. I might be missing. My memories might be mixing up from all the times they've been there, but I can't. I know for a fact Fire was there because he was the first face I saw when I went upstairs. Mm-hmm. And I know Ultimizer was there too. So those two I know for a fact was there the very first time. But anyone else I might be mixing my memories up. So once we got there and we saw the place, of course, 8-Bit was set up like a GameStop, but it's kind of like almost like a garage sale. No, let me take that back. It's not like a garage sale. It's more like it was I'm trying to think of the right word.
More like like you could say it's like a mom and pop shop, pretty much.
Yes, that's the term. Mom and pop shop. Yes. It was sort of like a mom and pop version of GameStop, which it was dope because that aesthetic, it feels like at this point feels iconic to me. Because it had the old peripherals, like old controllers.
Yeah.
It had that peak vintage feel, and that's why I like. That was the charm of the 8-Bit store. Mm-hmm. That was what I allude towards too. Vintage. So once we realized what the environment was like, it was like, okay, this is cool. And then the location wasn't too hard to reach towards it because we had drove there initially, but eventually myself started taking the train here. So I wasn't necessarily reliant on Reg to get there, which was a good thing at the time. We would still go together, but if he couldn't make it, I would be able to go by myself. So we went there, and that's when we met everyone. Yeah. And I remember feeling like I was like, not that I'm supposed to be here, but I finally found a place where I can just be myself with other people in regards to fighting games. Because like I said before, up until meeting the dojo, I was by myself in my house majority of the time.
Right.
And that was even with playing Street Fighter 4 online, So with playing Street Fighter 4 online, it was a new experience as well because I got to play against other people, but we all know how that went with delay-based netcode.
Yeah.
Delay-based netcode and Wi-Fi. You already know the story with that.
Oh yeah, we totally know about that. It's kind of funny with yours. I would say I met under the different circumstances. Mm-hmm. In terms of being there. It's kind of ironic because we talk about this, and in the background music I'm actually playing the training stage of Super Street Fighter 4, which nice. Which is like I said in the beginning, that's how we kind of met. Mm-hmm. And I met you guys through Glitch, and the way how it happened was when Glitch used to live on Horace Harding Expressway, and I want to consider that was Springfield. In a way?
No, that was he lived in Utopia, Queens.
Yes, that's what it was. So I remember I met him through a friend before in regards about that. And then he was talking about going to 8-Bit. And during that time, that was literally like maybe the first time ever I've really played a modern Super Street Fighter, pretty much Street Fighter. Yeah. And because I was just like you, I was used to playing the older games like ST, Third Strike, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, actually SNK vs. Capcom, and I played pretty much like those older games, but I haven't really stepped foot into saying, hey, let me go ahead and play vanilla Street Fighter 4. I didn't get Street Fighter 4 until Super, because when I
had vanilla. Vanilla was
I didn't get that. I got Super because because vanilla, the reason why this was like when I got my 360 the first time, I got it as a bundle, and the very first game I got with it was Grand Theft Auto 4. So therefore, didn't really get it until like Super, and then afterwards I was like, all right, I ended up getting it maybe later that year when there was like a couple of patches that came out and all that stuff for it. But that's when I finally came to the bit. I was with Glitch and Ultimizer, and then I met you, I met Reds, I met Brandon, Joe. I think I met, who else was there during that time? I think it was Condor. I met Condor there as well. I met Condor, and then there at the time.
Oh, Jazz was there. Oh,
yeah. Rest in peace, Jazz. Yeah, Jazz Master. Yeah, Jazz Master. Jazz Master and his girlfriend, Celeste. Celeste. Yeah. Shout outs to her. I mean, she's doing pretty well, but during that time, that was like the group that was there. So
yeah, then we had some. I remember who else showed up there. Like I said, Defeatly was there. Patrick.
Yeah, sometimes from what I saw, I think Manny showed up.
Oh, Manny was there. Yes, yeah. Manny was there. Also, Christian. He was the Makoto player. I remember his first name now, but I don't remember his tag name. But his first name was Christian.
Yeah.
Who else was there? I'm gonna have to go to the Dojo P. Hold on one second.
Yeah. I mean, but overall, man, yeah, we met a lot of people that was there, man, and that was pretty much the start of the FGC journey for the both of us.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
It was very enlightening, just, you meeting other people in order to get strong, in meeting other people to get stronger, because it felt like your work. So I would say you would agree with me to be like, well, you felt like your world opened up because there were other people besides, family members that's out there that's playing the exact same game, but those guys are playing on a completely different level.
Yeah.
So it's like it was pretty intense at first because you had to be in the acceptance stage to be like, man, these guys are better than me in this damn game. And I'm like, yeah, well, there you go. Now you got a place to just be like, yeah, I can just go ahead, train up. And then they have like the dojo nights, which is like a tournament that they would do. And one of the biggest things is just to have fun with that. So that's pretty awesome. That was pretty awesome how we both had similar upbringings in terms of being a part of the FGC. So
yes, it is.
Yeah.
Forgive me. Yeah, Dax. Met Dax there too.
Oh yeah, Dax. Yeah, Dax, man.
Yeah, GM Paul. No, Aqua. But that was more. I met Aqua when they moved over. No, was he there during the same?
No, we met him when they moved to the new spot.
Right. Eddie, Tega,
Nelly.
Poem was there. Nelly was there. Bones, Birdo, both Birdos.
Brandon stunt double.
Yeah. GM. Shout outs to GM in the Tekken community. And Esteban.
Yeah. Damn, man. Oh yeah, J Dragon X. That's right. The professor. Jesus Christ, man. That's crazy with him there. I remember when we went to DTN 20, that was the one that was in Flushing. I think that was like 2015, 2016, something like that. It's funny because he was in our room and it was me, him, Bunch, David Bunch, and Brandon, I believe. Yeah, and Brandon during that time. Man, what a ride that was, man. Jesus Christ. And I remember that room tournament that was going on. It was kind of crazy. Okay, so before we get
shout out to the 8-Bit Dojo and all the dojo.
That is right, man.
All the dojo members.
Yeah.
There was a lot of us, so forgive us for not recalling everybody, but the 8-Bit Dojo is forever in our hearts.
Yeah, yes it is, man. That's how we got our start. So yeah, definitely shout outs to the 8-Bit Dojo. So before we move on from the background, from your background, just wanted to know why the name Empowerment? Where did it came from?
All right, so if you can recall, back in the early 360 days, they made a crackdown on peculiar names online. Do you remember that time?
Yeah, I know. I was a victim of that one. Well, not much of a victim. I kind of was asking for it. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, so I was a victim of that as well. And it was a bit sad because I enjoyed the hilarious responses of people when they try to read my name back in the day.
What was your previous name?
Ooh.
Don't worry.
I don't feel embarrassed by it, but it was something I never thought I had to explain out loud. But I went by the name These Big Old Nuts. That was my name. So when I would play Street Fighter or play shooting games, like at that time was Gears or Halo, if I clocked you, you would see my name and you would have to say my whole name. But there's people who actually friend me just because of that name, because it was so ridiculous that I put that out there like that. So I was playing Street Fighter Vanilla with that name as well. Also Super at that time, it was around Super where they put the crackdown on those names, so you can't use those type of names anymore.
Right.
And that forced me to change my name to Empowerment. So the reason why I went with Empowerment is because I was thinking about, okay, obviously I can't have fun no more with my name. So let me think about a serious name. So I was thinking, well, the one thing about the games that I played the most was Street Fighter. And I knew that. Even with playing the other games like Gears or Halo, fighting games will always be the one that I would always play. So I'm thinking, okay, what would be a good name that would reflect my experience with fighting games? And at the time, but even before I met up with even before I went to Dojo, I was like, well, what would be a good name? Well, I do like getting better in fighting games. I do like, the process of getting better, and I don't mind being in a position to helping others get better as well. Because at that time, within my little close knit of friends that I play online, a lot of them, appreciate playing me because they felt they was getting better. That was the feedback I was getting. I'm like, well, what about empowerment? I was like, well, that's cool. I actually like the word. I think that word is reflective of what I want for myself to get better, to be empowered, and also be a tool or a resource for other people as well. So that's where the origin story came from. It serves as a reminder for myself to be better and also to help others become better.
Well, that's pretty deep. I mean, it's funny because there's a lot of symbolism when it comes to people's like gamer name or so. And some of it can be pretty simple. Some of it can have a really thorough definition of it. While yours is more. I would say yours is definitely deep because you do have like a really deep mindset in terms of how life is how you reflect life in your own words. And basically how that kind of shapes you to be the person that you are. Not only because the games shape you into what you are currently, but there's other experiences that you went through that does that, and you find it you find it, you can use those experiences to empower people to actually become better, which is pretty, it's pretty awesome that what you do.
Yes, that was the whole point, because I wanted to be in a position of value. That was the DNA of it all. Like, I want to be in a position of value of others. So, and one way you can do that is through empowering others, and hence that's my name, my tag.
Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. All right, so tell me this. Let's talk about the FGC for a little bit, right?
Okay, sure.
What are your thoughts on the current state of it currently? Do you find it like, I mean, obviously it's changing, right? Do you think it's changing for the good, the bad, or we don't know yet?
I think the FGC is in the middle of a cultural shift. And the cultural shift is for the survival of Street Fighter. And here's what I mean by that. You have to take into consideration that Street Fighter has been out for 30 plus years, right?
Yeah.
And it's on the responsibility of Capcom to keep Street Fighter relevant to the new generation. And each generation of people that play into the games, their interests, their desire, what makes them tick is going to change. Now, back in the days when we were growing up, Street Fighter was known for execution. It was known for good visuals, and it was also known for iconic sounds, etc., etc. However, as time progressed, people, in terms of the casual audience, their openness for execution was diminishing. People don't want to play hard to play games. That's just the reality of the situation, because games like shooters was coming up, games like action games where the inputs are relatively easy. Now, if you want new people to come into the game, there can't be an execution barrier. You just can't have that no more. Now, of course, with the increase of hardware, with the increase of technology, it's made it more accessible for inputs to be easier. But you can't have a high execution game like, what would be the highest execution game of Street Fighter? What would you say that is?
Are you asking me that question?
Yeah.
A high execution Street Fighter game would probably be Third Strike. Third Strike, definitely Street Fighter 4. ST.
Yeah. So those games like that,
and Capcom for SNK 2.
Right. So those 4 games. Now, if you mind you, all those games came out within the 2000s, from 2000, maybe 90. Wait. No. Yeah. 2000 to 2009. Just within those 10 years. Within those 10 years, execution was the theme of those 10 years. But once you started going to the 2010s, people's interest in high execution started to diminish. And I remember, because they was always trying to implement new ways to make things easier, because that's what the casual audience value. The casual audience value these accessible controls. Yep. Not the hardcore, because even you and I are considered hardcore. So it doesn't matter what version of Street Fighter is going to come out. Outside of them purposely putting out a bad game, we're going to buy it. But if you want a new crowd, you have to make it easy for them to get in. That's just good business practice. So as a result, we are where we are now in this modern era of simplistic controls. Even back then, there was experimenting, because you remember Marvel vs. Capcom 1, they had turbo mode, easy mode, and normal mode. You remember that?
That is true. Yes, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
And then with Marvel vs. Capcom 2, they made it even much more easier with just having 4 buttons.
Yep, that is true. Yeah, so, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, it had it had the jab fierce, then they had the tag button, light kick, roundhouse, and then I believe you can activate super pretty easy as well in that game too. So, yeah, I can see what you mean with that.
So even the cultural shift started even during those times. To where we are now, where you can do a whole super by pressing forward and 2 buttons, and modern control Street Fighter. So yeah, so the whole point I'm trying to make is we're in the process of a cultural shift where things are going to get easier, but because things are easier, it gives room for other things to have more complexity. And I think the beauty of Street Fighter 6 is we're going to see the evolution of that, because Street Fighter 6 is in a good space where it's a good blend of the simplistic approach with deep mechanics that you can leverage off of when it comes to matchups.
Well, that is true. I mean, you kind of have the classically trained, how they kind of described it, and then they had the modern, and then they have dynamic, but dynamic is only available in like local 2-player or something like that. That's the only way that you can play that.
Yeah.
But I can see, you know, with Street Fighter, with Capcom, they're definitely aiming for a new breed of players, and limiting the execution barrier was definitely one of the biggest moves that they did, because I feel like what they did with that was they feel like, okay, I would say like they are reaching for the casual people, and they're gonna be like, hey, listen, we know that you've been following Street Fighters for like years, or you're like to get into it. Now, if you feel like, okay, the inputs are too hard, you can easily just use modern, and you know, modern pretty much like, I would say it's actually a really genius move they did that, because not all means that they made it simple. I think they made that simple for those who wants to get in the game. I just think modern still has its, like, you know, it really has its own issues still, especially those who would take modern into a higher level, because I think you don't see a lot of high level modern players. I think the last time we seen, if you remember last year in Evo, there was like only one person who was like a modern player that made top 8, and that was Haitani.
Yeah.
So even though it's like modern is like, yeah, it's easy to get into, I think it still has its issues. But I'd probably say like Capcom, you know, really did right, just like you said, in terms of, I would say they perfectly blend between I want to call it the old guard and the new school. And basically everybody has their fair share in terms of that, you know, adding all these mechanics, which the mechanics look very familiar.
Right.
Like the majority of these mechanics are coming from like all the older games, like Alpha 2, CVS 2, ST, Capcom for SNK 2 as well. It's kind of awesome. Like the new directors really put thought into this game.
Yeah, and they need to, because, you know, for Street Fighter to survive, it survives off the lifeblood of new people, not the hardcore, and that's the hardest pill to swallow, because you it's amazing how each iteration of Street Fighter you see people complaining about the changes that they make, not realizing that all the money comes from the new people buying the game. Absolutely. So the goal is it has to create. So Street Fighter's job is to create a pathway for new people to come in while retaining this interest of the hardcore. Now, the interest of the hardcore is basically classic controls, good visuals, great characters, great netcode, and a competition scene. So long as they keep those three components intact, Street Fighter has a place in this world. But Street Fighter needs new people to get into it, and then leave us and make it so that the game can facilitate a casual audience member to be converted into a competitive player.
Good explanation with that. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. So tell me this. Now that we've kind of, you know, you talked about the cultural shift of the FGC, what do you think is going to happen to the FGC in like 5 years? Do you think it's going to get to a place that it's more worldly recognized? Or is it going to be like kind of stagnant?
I think, well, Street Fighter in itself is already a global brand. Now, I think what's going to happen is that Street Fighter as a brand is going to be expanded further in areas that was previously not part of. Like, for example, right now the big three was always America, Europe, and Japan.
Yep.
But now the Middle East is starting to become another area in which fighting games have a safe space in, you know, and over time, other areas are going to pop up. Like, imagine there being like a huge scene in like Africa for Street Fighter.
Yeah.
There's already there now in South Africa, but
Yeah,
obviously
that's
its presence is known, but it ain't like you said, like the big three. But the point I'm trying to make is Street Fighter as a brand is going to create more spaces over time. That is what I see what's going to happen.
So does that applies to other games as well, like Tekken?
Of course.
Like Tekken, Smash Brothers or so?
Yes. The whole point, just like, think of it this way. The purpose of life is to be able to pass on your genetic information to the next generation. And the same analogy can apply to a brand like Street Fighter, where the purpose of Street Fighter is to expand their audience to as far as it possibly can on planet Earth. And right now it's secured 3 spots for sure, which is America, Europe, and Japan. Now the goal is to expand Street Fighter's influence in other areas of the planet as well. So right now the Middle East is growing right now. The Middle East is growing, not just in Street Fighter, but also in Tekken as well. But the Pakistani scene and and all the other areas of the Middle East, like, they're drawing a lot of attention in terms of not only providing tournaments for people to come into, but also the scene as well in terms of producing strong players. So now what's going to happen 5-6 years from now is you're going to have more spots just like that opening up, producing opportunities for competitive play, high level competitive play, and producing stronger players out of the area. So more household names are going to come out of those areas. That's what's going to happen.
Oh, okay, that's good. So now that it's funny. Now that we covered the FTC, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can still talk about it. Let's talk about the times that you're in it, in terms of your tournament, in terms of your competitive run and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me this: what are the memorable moments that you had in your competitive career so far?
Well, I would say that it started off when I started going to Chinatown Fair. I went to Chinatown Fair occasionally during 2000 to 2002 era, because I would go there with my cousin.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be the arcade for me to go to, because like I said before, a lot of my time playing fighting games was by myself at home. So one times I would come out and play would be either at Chinatown Fair, and it's funny because when I went to Chinatown Fair, I'm almost pretty certain I came across the old guard, like the Yipes, the Justin Wongs, the Sanford Kellys. Like, I'm pretty sure I came past them and not know who they were back then, because I believe that the scene started to really pick up a lot during that era, because I think Marvel 2 had just came out. Mm-hmm. And Marvel and Capcom vs. King 2. So, and that was the place to be for competition in New York City. It was Chinatown Fair, and they were there. And then I also would play at local arcades near my house, because when I was in college, I worked at a men's clothing store in Green Acres Mall, and there was an arcade there, and a couple of my friends, well, not my friends, but people that would be there regularly would be there, and there was CVS 2 there. And I remember having to go there and play CVS 2 within my lunch break, which was like 30 minutes. So I try to eat within 10 and then play there for like 20 minutes. And then I would try to either beat the arcade within the time or fight the regulars that would go there that were good. Right. And I think one of the regulars that would play, his lineup was Cammy, Sakura. Who was this third one? It was Cammy, Sakura, and I want to say maybe Iori. That was his lineup. And I would use Ryu, Sagat, and Google. That was my squad in CVS 2. And it was good times. And then I would take that experiences in the arcade and lab them up at home. and then that was it. But once I stopped working there, actually that arcade closed down, unfortunately. So that was that. And so between 2006 and 2009, it was just me playing the games by myself. And then when Street Fighter 4 dropped, then I started playing ranked online and finding new friends to play with. But in terms of fighting games in particular, I just love long sets. Like that, I get the most fun out of fighting games in long sets. And when I started to go to the dojo, that's when it really started to pick up in terms of me expanding my awareness of what I could do, because it could be more than just me playing these games at my house.
Right.
You know, I can meet up with other people, have these offline sessions, and the spirit of competition would just naturally breed itself, you know. And then having those conversations regarding about going to tournaments or local tournaments like Next Level, and going to the bigger majors like Big E's events or East Coast Throwdown, and like those we started to become options now. So now the only difference, like, I had to become better. So with the dojo being the proving grounds for myself, you know, that facilitate me getting better and also entertaining the idea of actually competing. And my first tournament that I went to was with Fire and Reg. It was at this tournament called what was it called? I forgot. I can't recall. I can't recall right now. It's something. Well, fight over something, but it doesn't matter. It was in New Jersey, and I think, unfortunately, a lot of people had DQ, so it wasn't that many people that was there for Street Fighter. So we did the tournament. I think I got 4th place or whatever have you. But then from there we went to Next Level, and once after that, that's when I really got to see level competition was at. Because if you recall, Chinatown was the place, but Chinatown had closed for a bit it closed to remodel itself, because the way that they were doing business before, they couldn't do it no more. It couldn't be just the vintage Grinch art fighting game spot anymore. It had to rebrand itself as a local Dave and Buster's.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like it was before. So but that energy, that level of competition, and that competitive spirit, that transferred from Chinatown Fair to Next Level. So once Next Level became the place, that's where all the high level competition would gravitate towards to. And then when I went to Next Level for the first time, I think I went 1 and 2, and I think I had fought Rico Suave then, and he beat me, and then I had a bye. No, I went 2-2. That's what it was. So I had a bye, then fought Rico, lost to him, and then fought another person, and I lost to him, and I was out. And that experience was quite something, because I remember feeling not too good, because I thought that I was progressing. In reality, but in reality, there was just more room to grow, you know.
Right.
Because it's really hard to balance feeling like you are competent, but then realizing there's much more for you to grow. So you have to have that delicate balance of being able to shift between those two realities. You're actually pretty good, but there's more room to grow. And when you fight somebody who is stronger, chances are they'll show you what you need to work on, whether that's either playing the matchup better, or you had too many critical errors in your execution or your game plan as a whole, and so on and so forth. So after that experience at Next Level, it made me realize that there's more room for me to grow as a player. So of course, the main hub for myself was 8-Bit, not Next Level, because Next Level is just was very hard. Not very hard. Next Level wasn't really as accessible for me because of where I lived at. Because I live in Queens, literally, if I was driving, 20 minutes near Long Island. So I'm on the far east of Queens.
Yeah.
And for me to get to Next Level, I had to go through Manhattan, through Brooklyn, through the southern part of Brooklyn, and that's basically going to the Bronx.
It really was, man. That train ride there was brutal, bro.
Yeah, and it was like, this is not accessible. Even if I try to cut through, it just wasn't feasible for me to do that on a weekly basis. It just wasn't. And plus, I worked evenings at the time, so I couldn't go to next level even if I wanted to, if I wasn't off that Wednesday, because that's when they had next level battle circuit.
Right.
So, but I always had 8-Bit Dojo, because 8-Bit Dojo I could always go every 2 weeks, and the train ride was just literally a straight line from Queens to Manhattan, and then a walk. That was more accessible to me. So that's part of the reason why I never went to next level like that, because it just wasn't accessible for me to go on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And then my first major, I believe, was Summer Jam of 2014, I think it was. Yeah. That was the first major I went to. I don't remember how well I did. I didn't go 0-2. I can say that. I didn't go 0-2. But it was such a fun experience to be in that space. It was like, it was fun for me to actually be a part of the tournament scene, because before it was just stories and other people's stories that you would hear at the time, but to have your own personal experience was great. And you get to meet more of the community, because at that point it wasn't just the 8-Bit Dojo. Now you have 8-Bit Dojo there, you have next level people there, you have people from different cities there, from Jersey, Philly, all meeting up to compete. And then as a result, you make new friends, your network expands, you get more players to play against, because at this era we can now play each other online. So that was another valuable experience to gain, is to be part of the tournament scene. And then the tournament that I did really well on was Winter Brawl 9. That was in February of 2015, I believe. And I got 13th place, which is the highest that I've gotten in the major setting. And I remember I had to fight Blue Blazer. That's right, he's from Canada. And he came out there, and shout outs to him, shout out to Blue Blazer if you ever hear this. And he was playing T-Hawk, and I made Gokin back then. So Gokin versus T-Hawk was a matchup that was in Gokin's favor, because he's a zoner and T-Hawk's a grappler. And prior to fighting Blue Blazer, I had a lot of experience against T-Hawk with another friend of mine who happens to share the name as you, Megaman, but he calls himself Megaman X. So shout outs to Megaman X as well.
Yeah, I remember that dude. I remember the first words he said to me. He's like, "Yo, why this dude is copying my name?" And I'm like, "How are you copying my name?" But then I saw how he spelt it, and I'm like, "Oh, well, then it's Megaman." Because the main, it's like
shout outs to Terrence Howard, by the way.
I was just gonna say that. It's like a Terrence Howard reference right there.
Yeah.
But dude was a cool dude though, until we got that all sorted out though. But yeah. It was kind of funny though.
Yeah. So he was my T-Hawk experience, and I played him a lot during Street Fighter 4 days. So that served me well fighting against Blue Blazer and ended up beating him, and that got me out of pools. So once I was out of pools, I was in top 32, and I was like, okay. So all this time that I spent in dojo, at home, going through ranked and playing long sets of the people, it's adding up to something. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So then I had to fight Kraymore. Shout outs to Kraymore as well. And I ended up beating him because I also had a couple friends of mine who were jury mains, and playing against jury and leveraging off that experience helped me to play against Kramer and beating him. But I would say this though, in terms of the whole notion of nerves is real. And the reason why we have nerves, because our brains associate the fighting game as a real fight. So you get the surge of adrenaline, and the purpose of this is to help you focus better. But of course, that feeling gets so intense that it could be a distraction. Mm-hmm. So what helps me deal with nerves, especially being on stream or stuff like that, is to remind myself that this energy that I'm feeling, it's to serve me, to help me focus. So let me just use it for that reason. And I have to remind myself that. And once I do that, I'm able to calm down, but still be in that nervous, still have that nervous energy. But I utilize it as a reminder to stay focused. So that's what helps me.
Right.
So I end up being Craymore, and the funny thing about that is once I finished my set with Craymore, I had walked off. So I'm like, okay, we beat Craymore, we're still in there. So let me just take a little moment. And out of nowhere, I hear this loud bang. Craymore was not happy that I beat him, and he punched the table.
I've heard that story.
He fucking punched the table out of his frustration. And I had went up to him. I was like, "Yo, everything good?" He was like, "Yeah, everything's good, all right, but just GG's." I was like, "All right, no problem." But because prior to that, I had met Craymore before, so it wasn't like we didn't know each other. I knew him, and I just wanted to check to see how he was doing because I'm not the type of person who would like rub my victory in your face. Like, here's my take on when it comes to, I guess, competition, like trash talking. I don't engage with it. You know why I don't engage with it? Because I value letting the results of the match speak for itself. That's just my perspective. So even if I was to beat you, I'm not going to rub it in your face. Like the match and how you lost or how I won, it speaks for itself. That's just my thing. So I went up to him and just to check to see how he was doing, and he reassured me that everything is all right. I was like, all right, fine, whatever. And then I think I had to fight Pai Chin, who was a Cody player. He beat me, and then I think I forgot who the second person I lost to, and then I was at the tournament. But that was the last time I was at the place I had a tournament. And then the times I was able to go to the tournament was like sporadic since then, because like I said, my schedule doesn't been able to go like every single one of them. But that was the last time I had placed that high in the tournament scene, was 13th place. So that was it.
Mm-hmm. So tell me this: do you miss being a competitor?
I miss being part of yes, because whenever I do go to a tournament, I love that environment, being around people who are trying to play at their best, or simply being around people who are just like-minded. Like you can't get more like-minded than the actual tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have access to the offline stations, play to your heart's content. And you get a lot of experience from there. In fact, I would argue that you would get a lot of experience out of the offline sessions there than the tournament itself. Because in the tournament, you fight at most. If you don't go 0-2 and you actually win the tournament, on average, you're probably fighting like 10 times. Mm-hmm. Meaning like you won every single one. And this is outside like an Evo. Evo is that's a whole different beast. But in a regular major, you're probably fighting like, assuming that you win all of them, you're fighting like 10 to 12 times. But you just have these offline sessions and you're just fighting people, you can get like hundreds of games, and that's a lot of experience. And it's also offline. So you're getting like the best experience you could possibly get playing against people at relatively high levels and mid to high levels. And you only get it at the tournament. You only get it there, because otherwise you have to do it online, and with online you can argue whether or not that's during Street Fighter 4 days it was arguable whether or not it was valuable because of the connections and the netcode. But in today's world with Street Fighter 5 and not Street Fighter 5 anymore, but Street Fighter 6, netcode has improved greatly. So you can have an argument of what is better. But Street Fighter 6 come a long way, and Street Fighter 6 netcode is pretty stable now, even across countries. But nothing beats offline. So having access to offline and getting all of that experience playing against people is like a Zenkai boost. I've always felt stronger leaving a tournament. Always felt stronger.
I see, but I know that you can't really do that as much because, you're a father, mm-hmm. and your work. So I'm pretty sure. I mean, you do still play, but you don't play at. I would say like you don't play at the level that you once were. I mean, I feel like you do, but I feel like you don't take it at a, how to say it, like a tournament, like a serious tournament level. I would say like you're in the casual phase because you feel like, because not only you're not able to really go as much as you can't go to events like that because, like I said, your father, and obviously, you have pretty much responsibilities and all that stuff. But you still would say you would casually play it with friends and some opponents in like Battle Hub and everything like that, just to not only have fun, but you can still be like you still a student at the game and you're still learning to what to do, especially in 6 because this game is not really fleshed out as much.
Right.
But I would say that if you would probably agree that even though you missed that style. I mean, it's always there. It's just a matter of making the time to do so. But I would say like you're in the casual shift at this moment because you're pretty limited in terms of making time to do stuff.
Right. For case in point, my last tournament I was at was Defender North 2019.
Yeah,
and that was during the summertime, and I think my record was like 4-2. Like I was just outside of pools to get out of pools. Like there was like losers quarter round and pools. So I didn't make it out. But that was the last tournament I was in. Then COVID happened, and then everything was online.
Yeah.
So I haven't been to an actual tournament in 5 years.
Right. Or you haven't competed in you have competed in an online tournament, which is ZAF. ZAF's tournament.
Yeah.
Shout outs to Zaffarino.
Yeah, shout outs to the homie Zaf.
So you've been in that one.
And I got third place there.
You got third place, which is pretty astounding, which is pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say so. It goes back to the same thing. Like you had the time to join that, but I feel like if there were like others, like Can Opener or Casa Bunches tournaments, it doesn't fall on your schedule in terms of you competing for those.
Right, because let's say I wanted to go the whole distance.
Right.
I would have to be forced. I'd be forced to leave because I had to go to work.
Right, that's understandable. But at least you know you do. I know deep down you do want to get back into the scene though, in terms of going.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of making the time to go do so, pretty much.
Or just having the availability to go. So case in point, the last Monday Night Turbo that you did, right?
Yeah.
Not Monday Night Turbo, Saturday Night Turbo that you did when you was hosting the Street Fighter tournament.
It was Friday Night Turbo. Yeah.
Friday Night Turbo. Yes.
Yeah.
I just happened to be off on that Friday, so if I forgot my tournament standing in that one. But the fact that I was able to do it was the fact that I was off that night.
Right.
So that's kind of like the paradigm that I'm in. Like I have to be available to do that, and it hasn't coincided with work. And being that most tournaments start in the evening time, they start like on the 6, 7, or 8 o'clock, which is fine. Them starting in the evening is not the issue. It's just that it's not conducive to my schedule. That's the problem.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. And you definitely do like overnights pretty much. So it's like it's not feasible for you to do so. But it's nothing wrong with. I mean,
well, then again, that's not necessarily set in stone because as of now, my kids are bigger now. I don't require much. They don't require as much attention as they did back in the Street Fighter 5 days and early Street Fighter. No, back in Street Fighter 5 days. So I don't know. Maybe things might be a little bit different. If I believe I will still be playing, and if things change where I don't have to worry too much about my kids during the evening time, or I'm off more often, I might do more online tournaments. You never know. But let's just say I have to acknowledge that my kids are bigger now, so therefore my attention for them is not as high as it once was because they're bigger now.
I got you. Okay. Well, that's very good to know in terms of your your experiences and your challenges that you faced. You kind of answered it all pretty much in that one sitting. So, tell me this. Let's talk about the future goals, right? Tell me, what are your short and long-term goals in the FGC?
Well, right now, my short-term goals is to simply just be better with the characters that I choose. So right now, I play the Shotos, which is Ryu and Akuma. I dabble with Geef because I played Alex in 5, so he serves for my grappler interest. But if I'm playing someone serious, I'm playing the Shoto. So it's either Ryu or Akuma. And right now with Akuma, I'm just focusing on optimizing my proficiency with him. Because the last time I played Akuma, well, I can say I actually played Akuma Street Fighter 4. I'm talking about Vanilla 4. So, and playing with him now, I can see how good he is. I can definitely see his weaknesses because he just can't get hit. He just can't get hit. So, Akuma forces you to play better because you're rewarded with all the tools that you could ask for. But the weaknesses is don't get hit. That's basically it. And long term, it's like I want to get back into the competitive scene. Like I said before, I have to acknowledge that my kids don't require as much attention as they was when they were younger, especially during the evening times, and also make myself available to go to more offline events. Like I plan on going to defend the North of this. This is actually the 10th anniversary this year, so I want to attend to that. I'm going to go to that one, and then just immerse myself in that space again, and then we'll take it from there. Okay. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Okay. So I would probably say, do you have any plans of transitioning into other roles in the FGC besides being a competitor?
Well, I do stream. I've been streaming for about a year, going on 2 years. This August will make 2 years, and I don't mind streaming and sharing my experiences online, whether it's Street Fighter or Tekken, and now I'm starting to get into Gears again with the announcement of E-Day. Well, this is before the announcement of E-Day. I forgot how fun that game was, and now, well, I lost touch on how fun that game was because after Gears 3, which is focusing mostly on Street Fighter, mainly because I didn't have other people that I was dedicated to play with, but that's going to change soon. And now I want to definitely stream a lot more of my Gears experience on streaming as well. And as far as being a content creator, I've haven't really fleshed out how I'm going to do it per se, and I think I need to sit more time and really think about that because content creation is relatively new, but I've realized that you need to have a specific angle to it because I can't say everyone, for those who are established or household names in content creation in the FGC, they have their unique take on things, and I have to identify what is my unique take, and I haven't done that yet.
I see.
But as far as streaming, that took a while for me. Well, I've been doing it for almost this August will make 2 years. And I would say my streaming experience has been quite a learning journey, not only just in optimizing the tech I have, but also creating a ecosystem as a sort where I come on at certain times, I leverage off my streaming to produce like content and like make clips and stuff and then sharing it online and building an audience. So to make a long story short, I'm in the phase of just building my audience right now as far as streaming goes. I want to build it all based upon the games I like to play, which is Street Fighter, Tekken, Gears.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at right now, just building my audience.
Yeah, I remember when you first talked to me about it. So because we talked about it because majority of it came from me, and I've been doing it since like the early Justin TV days. before it changed to Twitch.
I remember those days. Well, I didn't know that you had an Justin TV account back then.
Yeah,
But I do know about Justin TV because that was Twitch before it was Justin TV before Twitch.
so here's a small lore story. The first game I started streaming on Justin TV before it transitioned to Twitch, it was a game called Street Fighter Online, and that was a Marvel vs. Capcom style flash game that was made, and I used to stream that a lot on Justin TV and then it transitioned to Twitch. Now, if you were to look up my name, right, you would actually see, I think there's a way that you can actually see how old my account is. My account is literally came from the Justin TV days towards now. So
You're a triple OG, huh?
Yeah, like literally triple OG. But yeah, like in terms of streaming, I know you asked me some questions in terms of, equipment wise. I remember inspecting it, making sure it was good, what games that you should be doing. And first of all, I will say that I am proud in terms of you optimize your setup enough to a point that not only you getting some good stream, but not only that, you were able to do. I mean, obviously you're an artist as well, and you were able to make your own, make your own logo, make your own background. I mean, hell, you got yourself technically an avatar, which is technically Brock but bald, which is pretty awesome. So. So basically, you've came within the 2 years. You've came a long way in terms of streaming, and now, just like you said, you are building your audience because not only you stream fighting games, especially like you play with friends, you sometimes do ranked and do some battle hub, but you kind of diverse into, shooters and all that stuff. Now. In regards to that, because this is another question I would ask, you ever thought about, like, considering what we first talked about in terms of the games you played, right? You ever thought about, like, well, hey, you ever thought about just like saying, hey, one of these days I'll do a retro night and then just stream like playing from Fightcade and everything like that?
You know what? I haven't thought about that, and I should do that. You're right. I should do that. You know what's funny? Since we're on the subject, I might need assistance with installing Fightcade because I don't have Fightcade on my new setup. I totally forgot to ask you about that because because my old PC it has Fightcade on it. My new one does not have Fightcade on it.
Yeah, I can help you with that. I mean, Fightcade has come a long way in terms of that. And shout out to Fightcade, by the way.
Yeah, shout out to Fightcade.
You got a lot of games that you can play from, like, obviously there's fighters, but there's also, like, you can still play like your regular Mario games and Sonic games and everything like that. And the fact that they're able to have Dreamcast on there as well, which is pretty impressive. Coming soon, for what I heard, is PlayStation 1, but we'll see if that's going to happen, though. But we'll see about that. So, we pretty much went over a lot of your stories and your upbringing to your journeys for competitive and to what happened pretty much pre-COVID, then COVID hit and everything like that.
Right.
So my question, I got like two more for you. My question is, what impact are you hoping to have on the gaming community? Pretty much, in the community of itself. Like, what impact are you trying to make in terms of the community? Like, you trying to show the community, like what you're about. That's what I should ask.
I think in simple language, the impact I want to have is knowing that I have been of a resource of value, whether that's through entertainment, assisting with helping my audience become better at what it is they're interested in, whether that's fighting games or draw or art, because I plan on doing more art streams soon. I'll figure that out as it comes along. But I do want to do more art streams, and knowing that you just feel good in my presence when you pop in, knowing that spending time with me when I am streaming is valuable, and you got something out of it, whether that's, like I said, entertainment or education where you learn something, or you're just here to have a good time. To keep it simple, that's kind of where the impact I want to have when it comes to the gaming community.
Yeah, that's pretty.
And also sharing my experiences as well, because the one thing I've learned about streaming as a whole, it comes from the human need of sharing. You're just sharing your gaming experience through a platform where others can tune in. That's the DNA of it all. So being able to do that is a very beautiful thing, in my opinion.
Yep.
And it's like a reunion of sorts.
Oh yeah, that is very true. I feel like when you stream, you tell a story.
You're storytelling.
We're storytelling through the games we play.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, we also tell a story in terms of, okay, how are we responding into these games, or so? Are we responding in a way of, we're having fun, or there might be some aggravation here and there, but it's a pretty amazing experience, honestly. And especially for those that's out there, like, who really wants to come into streaming, I'm not saying it's relatively easy, because, it's like setting it up is easy.
Mm-hmm.
The hard part is, I feel like, once you're live, there are people who's going to be out there. And then there's obviously people who's willing to kind of listen to you, don't listen to you, and all that stuff. But
mm-hmm.
A lot of people tends to they want to see what you're about. That's one thing, and they want to see in terms of what type of person you are. So that's where the storytelling comes in, because not only you're showing your personality, but you're also showing, oh, okay, this is the type of game that you play here, or you're willing to kind of step out of your comfort zone and play this other game just to basically either gain views, or you had an interest in this game and be like, oh, well, everybody's playing this game, but somehow I was interested in this game as well. So let me just try it out anyway. So there's things like that really plays into the whole streaming phenomenon afterwards, especially if you're really starting out.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would say, when you're starting out, the number one question that you're gonna ask yourself is, man, what game am I gonna play? You know what I'm saying? Do I play the game that I normally play on a regular? Or do I just play do I just follow the algorithm and just play the games that's out there? You know what I mean?
Right. That's the game that is the question you do argue with yourself sometimes, is what do you play? Do you play what speaks to you, or do you play what speaks to the algorithm? And depending on what you value, you make your choice.
Absolutely. All right. So my final question to you is very simple.
Sure.
What would you tell the newer, pretty much like what we just spoke about, right? What advice you would give to aspiring players who want to be competitive?
My advice is to cultivate a spirit of learning and never lose sight of that. Because even if you are a household name, doesn't matter what the name is, your favorite player's favorite player, you need to have a spirit of learning, because there's something that's always there for you to learn, whether that's a different technique, an execution technique, matchup knowledge, whatever. There's always something for you to learn. Mm-hmm. And if you have your spirit of learning and that's the cornerstone of your experience learning, then you'll be able to handle the inevitable ups and downs of the fighting game process.
That's pretty deep. I've kind of thought about that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And part of me, like, that's deep in terms of becoming a student, because that's, so it's funny because that's where my problem sets in. It's not much of a problem. If you remember, I kind of said, it's okay. One of the other things is it's okay to lose, because losing is a part of the journey. And I remember I said that because there were times that, when I lose, I would argue at myself, put myself down a lot.
Yeah.
And not sure why I would do it, but I've learned over time, because I remember a while ago that I said, like, one of the biggest things is you want to go in with zero expectations, because if you go in with expectations, that is weighted baggage on yourself in terms of you expect to make top 8. You expect to make top 3. You expect to win this tournament because you feel like nobody is in your path in terms of this. And I'm like, I was like that before. I was like that before, with both ST and 6. Not especially with ST, because I feel like, like you, I've progressed to a time. I've progressed so far to a point that, like you said, I became a household name, and that's because I really worked hard to get there. Now there's other people that's out there that's obviously that comes with the spirit of fighting games, where there's people who are better than you, but then you feel like you have a sense of rage, because you'd be like, well, this shouldn't be happening. And then I'm like to myself, what you just said there in terms of becoming a student, it made so much sense in regards of becoming a student, because
cultivate a spirit of learning. Yes.
Yeah, because now I feel like that puts my mind at ease, because now I'm back to where I was before. But the difference is, like, I know my shit, but now it's like I'm starting to learn more in terms of learning my opponent, learning the tendencies, and all that stuff.
Put it to you like this: how can you expand your shit?
Yeah, exactly. Like, how can I expand your shit? You know what I'm saying? That's like that, and that's very well said in terms of what you said there, because I haven't touched 6 in about like 2 months plus, but your message has definitely opened my eyes in terms of that, and be like, I'm not learning in terms of why I haven't touched it, but I have to get back into student mode.
Right, because you gotta think about it this way: for you to be as of a well-known name at ST, what would you say would be the requirement for you to do that?
I would say, like, for me, it's funny, because I would say how I got to be well known is by working hard to get there, and just like consistent practice, looking at videos, playing pretty much.
And what is all that in alignment with?
Being a student.
There you go.
There it is. So, you see, I'm being interrogated in my own interview. How about that? In a way, technically you're technically a psych anyway. So it does make sense that you would question that, and your profession does reflect in terms of what you do for fighting games and in the FGC. So
yeah, there's definitely some correlations between the two.
Yes, it is. So,
but I will say this though, just to give you an example. I was watching Daigo's stream the other day, and he was going against the top of Japan in online, right?
Right.
And I'm looking at him play, not so much as looking at his play to see what I can X copy from his Akuma, but just seeing how he responds to the ebbs and flows of rank, whether he wins or whether he loses, and it's pretty much the same thing. It's like he acknowledges that he made a mistake, or he recognizes that he wins, and he's a little bit happy. But there's no there's no strong emotional attachment to either outcome.
Right. Yeah.
And I noticed that I'm like, okay, he's not raging, nor is he sure now he's the best when he does win. There's no extremes of emotional display. It's like, oh, okay, I won. Oh, I lost. God dang it! But he keeps going, and he's not necessarily. I could be wrong though, but just from a visual display, he's not attached to the outcomes. It's just whatever it is whatever it is.
Right.
You know.
Right. Right. Well, you're 100% right about that, and I mean that's a really good lesson to learn, though. Just like
it is.
It's a really good lesson.
And the funny thing is, he didn't even say anything. I just happened to pick up on it just watching him play because Daigo is considered like he is an icon within the FGC. But to be able to see how he is in real time, you start to see the little intricate nuances of how he takes the game for what it is, as opposed to the alternative, having this idea that he's supposed to be X or he's supposed to be Y, and if it just so happens it doesn't happen, then his whole world's over. Like, no.
Right. I got you. Oh, very well said there. So, we've reached the end of your interview. Now, before we go, how can people reach you?
You can reach me on my Twitch as SP_Empower. You can also reach me on Twitter/X as @SP_Empowerment. You can also reach me on my Instagram also as SP_Empowerment. You can reach me on those 3 platforms there, and also my YouTube as well, also under SP Empowerment as well. And you can catch me there. I stream mostly fighting games, Street Fighter, Tekken. I'm definitely gonna be streaming some more Gears, so I'll be switching between those 3. Mm-hmm. And any other games that want to come out soon. You know, I also stream lore games, one player adventure games like God of War and the like. And I also do art stream because I'm also, as Megaman has mentioned, I'm also an artist as well. So I'll randomly do an art stream. I should make that much more streamlined, but I think I need to figure out a way to have like a schedule with that, because I don't want to just do it randomly.
Right.
You know, because and that's kind of where I'm at right now. And that's it. Okay. And also shout outs to Megaman for providing me an opportunity to be on his platform and tell my story. They greatly appreciate that, man.
Nah, it's very welcome, man. Like I told you, the aim of these interviews is basically considered it's like Mega Man's Legends, but it's more for the people that, you know, I want to say, like, you're part of the FGC, but it's like you've seen stuff that happened during the FGC time, but never had an outlet to say, oh man, this was what's going on and everything like that. You never get a chance to do that. But what I do say, I do appreciate, you know, you giving me the opportunity to interview on that, because this helps in terms of, like, not only folks can understand what happened during your point of view of the FGC and your upbringing, but it reaches out to more of it reaches out to not only your audience, but the new audience as well too, that can, you know, to make sure you follow this man, and please do make sure you follow this man, like I said. So I appreciate you giving me this chance to interview you at this point. Like, it's pretty awesome that, you know, not only you took the time to do it, but you have a pretty cool story. You have a very cool story. So I greatly appreciate that. I think you must have dropped, but
yeah, sorry about that. My headphones had cut out. My bad.
Nah, that's all good. I mean, that's going to be in the recording anyway. But like I said, but I appreciate you greatly for, you know, letting me interview you. And folks,
yeah, and I think you give me an opportunity. I really do, because like you said, like being able to, you know, share my story, and appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So guys, like I said, you know, he dropped his socials. I mean, it's gonna be in the description anyway. So When you make sure you give this guy a follow. And thank you, John, once again. All right, guys. So we reached the end of the interview. Tune in pretty much for the next episode of Mega Man Legends. So I will catch you all in the next episode. See you all later.
Take care, everybody.